the fuck, man? Shit. Shining like a motherfucker. I know Mike's shit was really shining. He had to put all that money on it. I like that Vegas shit. I think when they're kind of magical and shit, whatever the fuck, there's something to see.
So currently all the testing is being done through local health departments and the CDC. The test kits have been released this past week, and those kits were needed for our labs to start preparing to be able to run the test ourselves. And that's a process that takes validation and setup of the lab. So we're hoping by next week to do our own testing. So at the moment, no one's doing testing other than the state and local health departments.
That's really interesting.
That's limited our ability to test.
Yeah, Dr. D'Angelo, so what are you seeing in the ER so far? I'm sure there are a lot of nerves, and you have to balance who you treat and who you suggest to be tested when they do come into the ER. So how are you gauging that?
So all decisions to test are being done in conjunction with speaking to the Department of Health, and at this point mostly being reserved for those at most risk for severe disease. So those with mild or moderate disease, a mild flu-like illness, to date we haven't really been testing. We're just giving good instructions on home isolation and how to manage themselves. But the testing has really been reserved for those people who are at most risk.
Doctor, I know you were prepared every season for the most severe cases of the flu, the people who then present in the ER. Are you seeing anything atypical, though, right now? Or do you think you're already starting to see the beginning of this here in New York?
Yeah, we're already starting to see the beginning of it. There's been a few cases in the area, as you know. It's not been overwhelming yet as far as volume is concerned, although there's a lot of anxiety out there. But we are starting to see cases.
Dr. John D'Angelo with us tonight. Dr. D'Angelo, we appreciate what you're doing there on the front lines. And I want to bring this question back to Jen, because how do you know when it's time to get to the emergency room or to your doctor right away? We mentioned that the temperature of 100.4.
Right.
But what else should you be looking for?
Well, I think the really important thing, David, is people shouldn't try to be their own doctor or nurse here. So you should be, in communication with your doctor. But I was just talking to Dr. Simone Wiles. You're an infectious disease specialist from South Shore Health right outside of Boston. Tell me how you're advising people to kind of go through that decision, whether they should stay at home or whether they should come in.
So the patients that we try to get into the hospital are those that have symptoms. And by symptoms, I mean very hard time breathing, very high fevers, having a hard time taking care of themselves at home.
Right.
So you want to come in because we want to assess you to see how you're doing.
And certainly, obviously, someone with a weakened immune system, who's pregnant, with any chronic or pre-existing medical conditions, those are people that you want to see in the hospital.
Absolutely. And we don't want them to be at home.
And I think it's really important also, David, to remember that these ERs are treating patients with heart attacks, strokes, accidents. And so it's a balance between taking care of someone who might be sick with a virus and taking care of the patients that are always packed into ERs in general. So
Thanks to you both and the whole team over there. More questions to come. And when we come back here, we're going to take you into one of those testing labs you heard Dr. D'Angelo talk about right here in New York and in this region. You're going to see the testing underway tonight for coronavirus and more of your questions answered. Pregnant women, what they should be looking out for. And that question we keep getting from people, if you're walking down the street, you're on the plane, someone coughs next to you, how far can that travel in the air and for how long? We're back in a moment.
Okay, this date right here to this date right here is officially 365 days. So that's 365 days between here and there. Okay? Three hundred sixty-five. Above all the things that you guard, safeguard your heart, for out of it are the sources of life. Put crooked speech away from you, and keep devious talk far away from you. Your eyes should look straight ahead. Yes, fix your gaze straight ahead of you. Smooth out the course of your feet, and all your ways will be sure. Do not incline to the right or the left. Turn your feet away from what is bad. Okay, so we are here at March. So let's take this one out. It's March or something like that. We only have a few more left.
The story of the Exodus has long been cloaked in mystery. Legendary filmmaker Cecil B. DeMille was so captivated by the Exodus, he created one of Hollywood's greatest epics, The Ten Commandments. DeMille personally appeared in the preview to describe his version of Moses leading the Israelites to freedom. In light of recent archaeological discoveries, some of DeMille's observations have been disproved. Generations have passed, but Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments remains the crowning achievement of Hollywood's story of the Exodus.
This is a reproduction of one of Michelangelo's greatest works, Moses. If you will be patient with me, I'd like to talk to you about this wonderful soul that Michelangelo caught so magnificently in marble. For centuries, people have been puzzled by these horns. Well, in the original book of Exodus, the Hebrew text tells us that when Moses came down from the mount, Keren came from his head. Well, Keren is the Hebrew word for horn, but it also is the Hebrew word for rays of light. Later artists, like Doré, show Moses with rays of light coming from his head. Here is a photograph of the original statue in Rome. Notice the likeness to Charlton Heston, who plays Moses. We generally think of Moses either as the prophet with a long white beard, or as he is portrayed in this canvas painted by Van Dyck in England about 1640, a baby found in the bulrushes by the daughter of Pharaoh. Incidentally, this is the first time this Van Dyck has ever been exhibited. Yet, there is a whole lifetime between the baby in the basket and the bearded prophet receiving the tablets of the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai. These very tablets were actually carved from the red granite of the holy mountain itself. This Canaanite lettering of the late Bronze Age is a forerunner of the Hebrew alphabet, the Greek alphabet, and our own alphabet today. The Bible omits the first 30 years or so that brought Moses to manhood. To fill in those missing years, we turn to ancient historians, Philo and Josephus. These historians had access to documents long since destroyed, or perhaps lost, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. To film the Ten Commandments, we rolled our cameras on the very ground that Moses walked. Here from the land of Goshen, across the Red Sea, down through the deserts of Shur and Sin, to Mount Sinai, the holy place of God. This haloed sun was above the mountain as our caravan descended. No, Moses' life is one of the greatest adventure stories ever put between the covers of a book. Here in the first chapter of Exodus, by the merciless edict of the Pharaoh, Ramesses I, all the newborn Hebrew male children were condemned to death. To save the baby Moses' life, Moses' mother, Jochebed, played by Martha Scott, placed him in a basket daubed with pitch and set him afloat on the great river Nile. The swift current, as though guided by divine power, sweeps him to the feet of Bithiah, Pharaoh's daughter, played by Nina Foch. princess, having no son of her own, adopts the baby and raises him in the very court which had condemned him to death. Where can you find greater drama than that? Moses grew to manhood and power, a prince of Egypt. The old Pharaoh had died, and his son Seti, played by Sir Cedric Hardwicke, had become Pharaoh. Did Seti find out this prince of Egypt was a Hebrew slave? What did Moses do when he learned the truth about himself? That he, a rich and powerful prince, was less than the dust beneath the wheels of Pharaoh's chariot. And Seti's own son, the powerful, magnificent, fearless Prince Ramesses, played by Yul Brynner. Who was it that betrayed Moses to him? Was it the throne princess, Nefertari, played by Anne Baxter? Or did the old nurse, Memnet, played by Judith Anderson, betray the secret of Moses' birth that she had kept for 30 years? Then there was the cynical, fastidious Baca, the master builder of Egypt, played by Vincent Price. Was he the informer? Or was Moses betrayed by Dathan, taskmaster over his own people, played by Edward G. Robinson?
Very well. I will bargain with you. If what you say pleases me, I will give you your price, all of it. If not, I will give you the point of this blade through your lying throat. Agreed?
Agreed. When Moses learned that he was Hebrew, and the Bible tells us Moses killed. How did he escape from Egypt? From Pharaoh's sentence of death.
Koeth, strike your pose.
Which of Jethro's 7 daughters did he marry? From whom did he learn the ways of a shepherd? Was it from Jethro's eldest daughter, Zephyrah, played by Yvonne De Carlo? What made Moses return to Egypt and almost certain death when the young Ramesses became the new Pharaoh? Why did God command Moses to bring the 10 plagues upon Pharaoh and the Egyptians?
If there is one more plague on Egypt, it is by your word that God will bring it. And there shall be so great a cry throughout the land that you will surely let the people go. Come to me no more, Moses. For on the day you see my face again, you will surely die.
Did Nefertari revenge the killing of her own son? How did the death of the firstborn free the slaves?
Go out from among us, you and your people. I set you free.
Who organized the greatest migration the world has ever seen? The Exodus. Was it Joshua, the young leader played by John Derrick, who became the powerful military commander of his people? The Bible tells us little of Joshua's youth, or his hopes and loves, or of those who may have loved him, like Lilia, played by Deborah Paget. How did God harden Pharaoh's heart that he called forth 600 of his war chariots to destroy Moses and the children of Israel? How did they escape with Pharaoh's chariots at their backs and the Red Sea before them?
Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you took us away to die in the wilderness?
All this happened 3,000 years ago. But we're still fighting the same battle that Moses fought. Are men to be ruled by God's laws, or are they to be ruled by the whims of a dictator like Ramesses? Are men the property of the state, or are they free souls under God? The story of Moses, as told in the Bible, is a life of struggle and defiance, a life of love and battle and sacrifice and murder, a life of achievement and disaster, of humiliation and glory. Moses is one of the world's greatest human beings, and human he was to the point of sin, and holy to the point of seeing God, and receiving from him the law, by which men may live in peace and freedom, the Ten Commandments.
Okay, sisters and brothers, we here. It's 365 days now. March 6th to March 6th is 365 days. So, just stay strong. We don't have long left. Y'all see the coronavirus and all that stuff popping up. So, just know it's real. Whatever you do, just know everything that's happening right now is very real. It's not a joke. So, just keep your heads together. Realize that our Father loves us and that we don't have very much longer to go. So just stay strong and keep in prayer. And I'm going to pray for all of y'all. It's a lot more terrible things to happen. But with the power of Jehovah on our side, there's nothing that we can't defeat. And basking in the blood of his son, Jesus, our Lord. May you be blessed and may you make it there and survive these times that the children of Israel are walking through like the moonwalk. God bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.